Hey folks, I have made the 2 ingredient brownies that are kind of going around the interwebs, and I have a few comments on it. I thought I was going to do the recipe from one site, but she actually didn't even provide the ingredients and is getting lots of clicks, but not even providing the ingredient amounts. So that was pretty annoying, and I don't want to encourage that, so I'm not going to tell you where I first saw the idea. But I did get the chocolate chips from Chalk Zero because they have, if you subscribe or you buy like 2 or more, it gets cheaper. But I just felt like I couldn't do that for a company that I hadn't used before, especially when stuff is so expensive for this kind of thing. So these are sugar-free chocolate chips with one net carb. The rest is fiber. It's a very nice ingredient setup. It is very clean. There's a little bit of corn, not cornstarch, corn fiber in it, which might be a type of cornstarch, really. Um, but so that's something to keep in mind. But if you go to many keto recipes on YouTube, they'll have a little discount code on there. The one that I tried to use didn't work, and so I need to contact Chuck Zero about that, since I looked at several recipes, and so I definitely found out about Chuck Zero from these vloggers, and one of them should get credit for it at least. But what I wanted to share is that the recipe is like, it's good, but there are a few things you should know about it. So the standard recipe is 6 eggs and about 11 ounces of sugar-free chocolate chips. And you can use darker milk. Normally I would use dark because I grew up on a darker chocolate brownie. And I have never liked a milk chocolate brownie that I've ever had. So, which doesn't mean I wouldn't like my own necessarily, but I've never bothered making one. I did end up ordering the Chalk Zero 3-pack, the kind of one of each kind of chocolate chip. So a white chocolate chip, a milk chocolate chip, and a dark chocolate chip, so that I've got some flexibility, and they're 20 ounces each for like $53 or $54. And that's about what you end up paying at the store, because any kind of decent chocolate at the store now, a baking chip is going to cost about $10. So, 6 to 1. But I'll show you what you end up with when you do them the way that I did them. I did them a little bit differently than the standard recipe. The standard recipe will tell you to do them a little more like this. They'll have you do it in an 8x8 pan. Obviously that's not one, but I had some extra left over from the little muffin part, so I did some in a tiny loaf pan. But the reason I wanted to do them in the tiny loaf pan was because I figured they'd be easier to freeze and kind of take out and so forth. But I also wanted to try them, since there's so few steps to the recipe and it's such an easy thing to do. I thought, well, I have a hand mixer. I'm gonna fluff up my eggs. So the first thing I did was separate the eggs. I whipped the egg whites, no cream of tartar, just egg whites at room temperature. Whipped them to stiff peaks. Left them alone, or separated them into 2 cereal bowls because I want to do part white, part cocoa-based chocolate, and then I whipped the egg yolks as well, and I did those separately, so you end up with that kind of creamy, ribbony, kind of butter yellow, more color, and that just smooths it out, and then the egg white will kind of add some poof to it and some souffle opportunity, so that you've got flexibility in the oven if you want something real fudgy in the middle, or if you want something poofy. I like a combination of both myself, so even though I didn't grow up on a poofy brownie, and I hate a cake brownie, don't ever give me one, but save them for yourself. But what I ended up with, as you can see, is a very little floofy souffle type of thing. I also, in the white ones, I put 5 drops of peppermint essential oil. If I did the whole recipe with it, and I would want to bump up the peppermint flavor some more too, because some of it degrades in the oven. If I did the whole recipe, I would do 40. But for the half recipe that I did, one dark, one white chocolate. I'll bump it up next time to 20. But the other thing I wanted to share here is, and sorry, but the state of my kitchen is what it often is, since I have limited hours where I can be mobile. I sprayed this very, very, very well. Okay. And you can see what it did. It did essentially nothing. So you are dealing with just an egg, basically, right? Like you are just baking an egg with this recipe. So definitely, if you're going to use a muffin tin, you're going to need to go ahead and use liners. But of course, if you're using something that's going to get that sticky, some of it's going to stick to the liners too. So maybe muffin tins are not the best option for this, but I still like the way that I can now portion out and understand like the nutrition macros based on 4 or 5 of these. You've got like 4 to 6 of them per egg basically, and the macros are really, really good on this. They are good, and the flavor is really nice on the white ones. Okay, now here's what I did. I did not use 11 ounces of chocolate even total. I did a little over 3 ounces of white and around 3.5 ounces of the dark. So that adds up to 6 to 7 ounces, depending on if my scale was right, which it may or may not have been, because it's kind of crappy. So that saves you a lot of money, because these are expensive. There's absolutely nothing wrong with the amount of chocolatiness in the chocolate ones is intense. So there's no need for you to use more than that amount of chocolate. So if you do the whole batch with that, you're talking 6 eggs to at most 7 ounces of chocolate chips. Okay. But I will say the white ones were appropriately sweet. The dark ones were not. And so what you may want to do is do a little taste test of one dark and one milk before you do it. I did taste the white chocolate chip before I used it. I did not taste the dark one. So maybe that the dark one is just very, very dark. So you may want to mix that, do part milk, part dark. But at any rate, other than that, you're good. And hopefully knowing that you can use 7 ounces instead of 11 will save you some money, because that's like 40% or more less. So that's a good few dollars that you would not have to spend on this. But I would really recommend, unless you just like hate that texture idea, I would really recommend doing your floofing with your hand mixer. If you have one. If you do it by hand, it's going to take a minute. You can use some cream of tartar to speed that up. But if you don't have to use the cream of tartar, don't, because that does have a slightly desiccating effect, and you're already baking eggs, which is already a little bit of a dicey thing to do, because they always sort of don't seem done, but then all of a sudden they're overdone. I will also say, if you do this with a muffin pan, I've seen recipes for this thing go all the way from like bake this for 13 minutes, but we're not going to tell you at what temperature. There's a special place in hell for people like that. All the way to like cook this for 30 minutes. Okay. That's a really big difference, obviously. And when you're just essentially baking an egg, you're going to get a really, really different product. I personally, as I said, I want something very fudgy in the middle. If you want a cake-like brownie, this is just not your brownie. It's just not going to happen with this. You're going to need some flour in there of some sort, and maybe add some baking powder. You could probably do it with an almond flour, which is still going to be, that's still going to be on the non-cakey side of things. But if you add some baking powder, let it sit for 15 minutes and kind of marinate, and then put it in the oven, then you're probably good. But for this recipe, this is really for people who like very creamy, almost puddingy inside, or that kind of fluffy meringue on the outside along with it. And if you use your mixer to floof your egg whites ahead of time, and then, also while you're at it, and things are dirty anyway, go ahead and do your egg yolks and get them real creamy. That's what you'll get with this. But I will say, if I had it to do over again, I ended up doing this. I checked it at 10 minutes, wasn't ready. I took it all the way to 13 minutes. I think doing it again, I'll take it to exactly 12 minutes in my oven. And my oven does run just a tad cool at 350. But what I did get is most of these still have a really nice pudding inside. It's set, and so it's not like going everywhere. It's set, but it is a really nice pudding. So, but not all of them do. Now, the ones that don't are perfectly pleasant, okay? They're perfectly good. But I think to achieve that pudding all the way through each one, I'll do exactly 12 minutes, take it out, let it sit for 20 minutes. Don't think about it. Don't touch it. Don't even entertain it in the universe, and then take it out. But like I say, do not do what I did here, okay? This is with a very, very, very well-greased pan, and this is obviously a disaster. So just don't do it that way. So I hope that's helpful. I thought I would just do this today, even though my kitchen was a mess, because it was a life-giving thing to do, and I wanted to try out these chips while I had a little energy before that disappears. And I figured, well, I can't make the kitchen very messy with a 2-ingredient thing. I managed it, as it turns out, but but I do think these warrant more conversation than people have given them online, than all the people who, you know, are getting clicks from you because of this. So I always want to make sure that if you manage to find my channel, which is a miracle in itself, that you are getting something new information that you're not getting from somewhere else. So hope that's helpful. And what I can do right now though, let's see. And I will say the ones that are like this are kind of a little more puddingy on the bottom. They're not as set. So let's see. Let's just see how they open, because I haven't opened them, but let's just see. Okay, so they do come apart. That's good. That's good to know. And it's probably good for me to go ahead and do this. Oh, but see, not so much here. They're a little bit still puddingy there. They're more American puddingy and not British puddingy. But here they're okay. Okay. So probably what that part is that they didn't set with is, yep, and that's the case here too, is it was in the middle of the loaf pan. So this was facing the other one, and this was facing the outside. So this part is perfectly good. And if you want to, when you're using your 8x8 pan, you could definitely still use your liners like this, do 9 of them, and then you still got your serving sizes, and you can still just pop them in the freezer. So that might be a helpful tip as well. Okay, so this is where it got kind of soupy. So if you do it, just know that you're gonna really get something different in the middle than you got on the outsides. And my oven is particularly notorious about that because my heating elements are on the sides. And so the middle never really gets quite as done. And so probably what I should have done is put that loaf pan along one of the sides where the heat comes up. And that probably would have worked better for me. So anyway, I hope that's helpful. As you make your 2-ingredient brownies, I recommend decreasing the amount of darkness in your chocolate. You know, or you can do a swirl. If you have all 3 flavors, you could do a swirl, and then that would keep your calories low, your fiber high, if fiber is important to you, as it definitely is to me. That's really what keeps me full. Butter and all the fats, they do not, but fiber does. But you could do a swirl very easily. I just chose not to do that this time since I was tempted to because it's so fun. But I really don't do well with chocolate. I need to be off of caffeine almost all the time. So so making a whole recipe of something that has chocolate in it is just not a good idea for me. So okay, so I hope that helps. Thanks, bye.